They say monsters are born in the dark, hidden from the eyes of men. But the truth is, the most dangerous of them all walked among us in daylight, behind the mask of a doctor and a man of knowledge. He never raised a sword, never fired a gun, and yet his name stained America's history with blood and fear. This is the story of H. Holmes, the first serial killer in the United States. It began in 1861 in a quiet little town in New Hampshire. A boy was born there, his name, Herman Webster Mudgett. From the outside, his family seemed devout, religious, ordinary. But behind those walls lived something colder. His father, a strict man, often drunk. His mother, obsessed with religion, preaching punishment instead of mercy. And in that house, filled with prayers and pain, something dark began to grow. As a child, Herman was curious. Too curious. He wasn't like the others. While most children feared death, he was drawn to it, to bones, to corpses, to the silence of the dead. One day, his friends tried to scare him with a real skeleton at school. They thought he'd scream, run away. Instead, he walked closer, eyes wide with fascination. He touched the skull and smiled. That smile would haunt history. Years passed. The boy grew up, but his curiosity turned into something else. Obsession. He enrolled at the University of Michigan to study medicine. There, he discovered how death could be more than fascination. It could be profitable. He began stealing corpses from the anatomy labs, faking accident reports, and claiming insurance money for people who never existed. It was his first taste of the darkness that would one day consume him completely. When he graduated in 1884, he decided to leave everything behind, or maybe to start something far worse. He moved to Chicago, a city of opportunity and shadows. There, he changed his name from Herman Mudgett to Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, a name that would echo in terror for centuries. He found work at a pharmacy in the Inglewood district. Smart, charming, polite. Everyone trusted him. But behind that calm, friendly face, something evil was awakening. He began saving money, carefully planning something that no one could imagine, a project that would make him a legend of nightmares. He would build a castle, not of stone and glory, but of death. In 1887, on the corner of 63rd Street and Wallace Avenue, Dr. Holmes began building his dream, a 3-story structure that looked from the outside like a fine new hotel, but inside, it was something far more sinister. The first floor held shops and a pharmacy, a perfect disguise. But the upper floors were a labyrinth of terror. Hallways that led nowhere, rooms without windows, doors that opened only from the outside, hidden chutes that dropped straight to the basement, pipes carrying gas through the walls, and a massive furnace waiting below, hungry for flesh and bone. Holmes replaced his builders often. No one ever knew the full layout of the place. Those who asked too many questions simply disappeared. To the world, it was just another hotel in a busy city. But to Holmes, it was his masterpiece, his playground of death, his castle. Then came 1893. The World's Fair had arrived in Chicago. Thousands of visitors filled the streets, dreamers, travelers, young women seeking work or adventure, and Holmes was ready for them. He offered rooms at his hotel, cheap, convenient, and safe. He smiled. He charmed. He promised comfort and opportunity. But once they stepped through his doors, the lock clicked and there was no way out. Some rooms were sealed tight. Gas crept in slowly, silent and invisible. The victims would gasp for air, clawing at the walls until darkness took them. Then Holmes would appear, calm as ever, dragging the bodies through secret passages to the basement. There, he did what he knew best, dissecting, boiling, selling skeletons to medical schools. Every corpse, another prophet. Every scream, another secret buried in the castle's walls. To the neighbors, he was a polite doctor. To his guests, he was the last face they would ever see. And for Holmes, death had become routine. A business, a pleasure, a purpose. The city of Chicago was alive, glowing with lights, laughter, and wonder. The World's Fair had brought millions of people from every corner of America, but behind the noise, behind the joy, something evil watched, waiting. Holmes's hotel was always full. Guests checked in, but few ever checked out. He had a type. Young women, often alone, searching for work or chasing dreams. To them, he was charming, well-spoken, trustworthy. They never suspected that behind his soft smile lived a monster. Julia Connor was one of the first. Beautiful, kind, recently separated from her husband. She worked in Holmes's shop, fell for his charm, and believed his promises. He told her they would marry, start a new life. But on New Year's Eve, 1891, she vanished. No SW her again. Holmes said she went away with her daughter Pearl. The truth was far worse. He had locked her in one of his sealed rooms and let the gas whisper her to death. Then he sold her skeleton to a medical school. Then came Minnie Williams, an heiress with money and trust. Holmes made her fall in love. He convinced her to sign over her property to him, a gesture of love, she thought. Days later, she disappeared too. When her sister Annie came searching, Holmes welcomed her warmly and led her straight into the same fate. Others followed. Emmeline Cigrand, the Van Tassel sisters, each drawn to the charming doctor, each fading quietly into the walls of his castle. He didn't always kill for money. Sometimes it was for curiosity. Sometimes it was just for the feeling of control. The fair outside his doors was a celebration of human progress, invention, beauty. But inside Holmes's castle, progress meant something different. He wasn't building machines or marvels. He was building fear, one scream at a time. People began to whisper. Visitors went missing. Letters stopped coming. But Chicago was a city too large, too distracted to notice. And Holmes knew that. He kept smiling, kept working, kept killing. When the World's Fair ended, the city began to fade back into silence. The crowds left, the lights dimmed, but Holmes was far from finished. His castle had served its purpose. Now, it was time to move on. He left Chicago and the trail of ghosts behind him, heading south to Texas. There, he dreamed of building another castle, one even bigger, darker. But this time, luck wasn't with him. The money dried up, the walls never rose. So he turned again to what he knew best: lies, fraud, and death. He drifted from state to state, selling fake medicines, stealing horses, scamming investors. Behind him, he left a storm of suspicion and missing people. Until 1894, when he was finally arrested in St. Louis for stealing a horse. But even in jail, his mind never rested. There, he met a man named Marion Hedgepeth, a train robber with a sharp tongue. Holmes told him about a plan, a devilish idea. He wanted to fake his own death, collect the insurance money, and vanish forever. Hedgepeth gave him the name of a lawyer who could help. The plan began. Holmes was released. He found an accomplice, his old associate, Benjamin Pititzel, a loyal man, a trusting fool. Together, they would fake Pititzel's death instead, claim the insurance, and share the money. It was perfect, on paper. But when the time came, Holmes saw a better way. Why share when he could have it all? In a small building in Philadelphia, he met Pititzel one last time. He offered him a drink, laced with chloroform. When Pititzel fell unconscious, Holmes set the room on fire, making it look like an accident. Then he collected the insurance money, smiling all the while. The company paid, the world believed, and Holmes was free again. But greed never sleeps. He wanted more. He wanted silence. So he turned his gaze toward Pititzel's family. He told the widow that her husband was alive, hiding in London. He promised to reunite them soon. Then he took 3 of her children, Alice, Nellie, and Howard, claiming he'd bring them to their father. She believed him. Everyone believed him. What followed was a journey of horror. Holmes traveled across states with the children while their mother followed another route, always one step behind, always hopeful. From Chicago to Detroit to Toronto to Indianapolis, and in every city. Holmes smiled, laughed, and planned their end in Toronto. He ended the lives of little Alice and Nellie, a small rented house, a sealed trunk, a tube of gas, and silence. In Indianapolis, he killed Howard. The boy's body was found later, burned in a chimney. Holmes kept moving. But his past was finally catching up. By late 1894, the walls were closing in. Detective Frank Geyer of Philadelphia began to piece together the puzzle. He followed the trail Holmes thought he had erased. The homes he rented, the letters, the lies. Every step led to something darker, something more horrifying. In Toronto, Geyer found the remains of Alice and Nellie Pititzel, 2 small bodies buried beneath a house's cellar. In Indianapolis, he discovered what was left of Howard, burned beyond recognition. The truth was finally coming to light, and the light was blinding. In November 1894, police arrested Holmes in Boston. At first, it was just for insurance fraud. But soon, the real story began to surface. Investigators returned to Chicago, to the castle he had left behind. They expected an empty building. What they found defied imagination. Inside the walls were hidden rooms sealed tight, soundproof chambers, torture devices, gas pipes, and in the basement, vats of acid, tables for dissection, and a furnace large enough to destroy a human body. Fragments of bone, clumps of hair, bits of jewelry, each piece told a story of horror. A story written by Dr. H. Holmes. News spread fast. Chicago trembled. The newspapers called it the Castle of Death. Some claimed there were 200 victims. Others said more, but no one knew for sure. Only Holmes did, and he wasn't telling the truth. He was calm when questioned, too calm. He spoke softly, smiled often, and seemed to enjoy every second of the attention. He admitted to some murders, denied others, and twisted his confessions like a game. He claimed to have killed 27 people, but investigators could only prove 9. The rest remained buried in mystery. And that's exactly how he wanted it. Holmes became a sensation. The devil in the White City. Reporters filled the courtroom. Crowds gathered outside. People wanted to see evil, wearing a human face. And Holmes gave them exactly that. The trial began in October 1895. The evidence was overwhelming. Yet Holmes stood there as if untouchable. He smiled when the verdict was read. Guilty, sentenced to death by hanging. Even then, He showed no fear, no regret, only that same eerie calm. May 7th, 1896. Philadelphia. The air was heavy that morning, as if the city itself knew something unholy was about to end. In the cold walls of Moyamensing Prison, H. Holmes, the devil in human form, faced his final hour. He walked to the gallows, calm, almost graceful. No tremor, no fear, only that same quiet smile that had fooled so many before. When asked for his final words, he spoke softly. "I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than the poet can help the inspiration to sing." The trapdoor opened, the rope tightened, but death did not come quickly. His neck did not break. For 15 long minutes, he twitched and gasped, his face turning pale, then dark, and even then, the witnesses swore they saw a faint smile frozen on his lips. Holmes was gone, but even in death, he remained an enigma. He had requested that his coffin be filled with cement, buried 10 feet deep, so no one could ever touch his body again. Even in the grave, he feared discovery. But the story didn't end there. Decades later, in 1938, a new building, a post office, was constructed over the land where his castle once stood. During construction, workers uncovered strange tunnels, broken walls, the skeleton of what once was, as if the ground itself still remembered. And those who work there now sometimes claim they hear sounds at night, a faint thud, a whisper beneath the floor, as if the echoes of his victims still wander, searching for a way out. They say monsters are born in the dark, but H. Holmes proved something far more terrifying. The worst monsters wear human skin. They smile, they heal, they promise safety, and then they take everything. His castle is gone, but his shadow remains, a reminder that evil doesn't always hide in the night. Sometimes it shakes your hand in the daylight.